So welcome everybody to day 3 of our onboarding seminar for the Wisconsin High School Esports Association. I'm James O'Hagan, and tonight I will not be presenting. I'm going to turn things over in a second here to Tyler Sauerbacher, just to kind of review what we did the last couple of weeks. We did have, the first week we had our kind of what this is all about with esports. And we have that video shared into our shared drive. So if you need access to that, that is there, along with a lot of the one-page sample documents as well too, to help you kind of develop your elevator pitch, your presentation to somebody who you may be talking to, and then where you can get other resources to maybe expand the conversation. And then last week we had our presentation from Jesse, who now is up in CISA 10, to kind of talk about how you would run a practice and how you might coach some of the things that you may be asked to do in the next couple of weeks. And Jesse, I see, is now just popping into the video as well. But tonight, Tyler is going to start taking us through a couple of other things. Mainly, the big part of tonight is going to be talking about what Discord is and how do we use it. And if it's something that you've never used before, that's okay. You might start to find as you look at it, you go, oh, there might be some other kind of cool uses for Discord. So that's going to be the primary focus tonight. And what was the other thing we're talking about tonight, Tyler?
It's mostly Discord, and then nuts and bolts was kind of what this one was titled, I guess.
Yeah. So Tyler, take it away.
Yeah. All right. So welcome to day 3. I'm going to jump right in. Yeah, so today, I guess this is your guys' 3rd day, so we can probably skip introductions. But yeah, we're going to talk a lot about Discord, and then a few other just kind of nuts and bolts things. We'll talk about reporting scores, so some other technology tips, your first match and scrimmage that you have to do, and then just kind of briefly mention streaming as an option there as well. First thing is Discord. I am not a Discord expert. I've obviously been using Discord through the association and then with my team last year. Justin was the one that threw together the Discord slides, and I've learned a lot from them, but Justin was more the expert. I will do my best to kind of go through them and show you everything you guys kind of need to know. So like we've talked about, the association uses Discord. This is where a lot of the information is given and kind of distributed, and a lot of resources for students and coaches. It is required that the coaches and students be on the Discord, and then we have the link right there for you guys. I'm assuming you guys all have access to this presentation. I've put it in that shared drive, I think. So
well, the Discord is basically by and large how we do all our communication across the association. Yep. Outside of email or anything else, this is going to be your fastest, easiest way to communicate across the association.
Yeah, and one of the technology tips is get this unblocked at your school if it is blocked. I know there's a decent number of schools that do kind of have it blocked, and you have to kind of go through the channels of getting it unblocked because it can be a bit of a hassle obviously if it's blocked and that's how you're communicating with the opponents on game day. So yeah, but here should be the link if you aren't already on the Discord server or if you need to give it out to your players. All right, and then once you join the server, you're put into like a verification room or a welcome room, and then you can kind of go through the steps. You can read the rules, and I believe you can select your role there. Yeah, so once you click on the link, go through that verification process, and then here again, for more agreement stuff. So yeah, the welcome channel, and then there's a role request where you can request if you're a coach or a player and different stuff like that, I guess. I guess quickly gauging how familiar are people with Discord?
I
I don't,
it's
sorry.
very, I have no experience with it prior to creating an account.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. And we get into later about making your own Discord and kind of setting that stuff up. Yeah, but once you kind of get into the community thing here, I was actually just going to pull it up. If you aren't already in it, this is what it kind of looks like. You guys can now see this, right? I'm assuming. So we've got the coach discussion. This is where I'm pretty sure only the coaches can actually see this. So you go through that kind of role thing and you are one of the coaches, then you have access to this. And as you can see today, we had just some conversations about Smash, and we posted the game day procedures and all of that stuff. So this is great kind of resources if you have any questions for other coaches. There are sections for each game. If you keep scrolling down on this kind of side panel here, we've got the League of Legends game, varsity scheduling, and a whole bunch of different tabs there. And then there's one for each game on there as well. So, and we have the regulations. But one of the big things that you have to also do with the Discord, and I'll jump back here, is you have to report the scores. And so I think reporting scores was mentioned last week a little bit by Jesse, I think. But after each match, the winning team's advisor, or you can have a student do this. So if you have a team captain, must report the score. And so you would go to the official match reporting section in the Discord. And then if you scroll up, we have links to Google Forms for each of the games that you would fill out. Was the process that we went through last season, and I'm pretty sure we decided that we're going through the same process. The forms might be updated, but this would be where you would find those Google Forms. And so questions that they'll be asking is who was the winning team, who was the losing team, and then it'll ask some sort of additional question based on tiebreakers. So for example, in League of Legends, the tiebreaker is game length. So it'll ask you to record how long the game was. In Overwatch, it's how many maps did the winning team or did the losing team win, and going on with that. So that's for the tiebreakers. Filling out the Google form sends it to a spreadsheet that the higher ups take care of and come up with the standings and all that we can look up at the website. So, but yeah, so Discord is a resource for reporting those scores. Helpful tips and tricks. So this was one I actually learned from Justin here, but once you're on the Discord, you can change your nickname. You can go over to your username and you can right click on it and you can change your nickname. You can have your students change their names that appear. And it's recommended that you this bottom one, you use kind of in brackets your school abbreviation and then your nickname. So again, if you right click and then you can change your nickname there. And I can show a little bit what that looks like. Over off on the right hand side here, you can see a lot of these coaches have their school abbreviated. There's me, my school, and my name. So yeah, all right. And then some more tips and tricks with Discord. You can also do a lot of voice communication. My guess is if you have some pretty hardcore gamers on your esports teams, they're probably going to be pretty familiar with Discord. Discord is something used a lot in the gaming community for voice chat when you're playing together. And so the association has some voice rooms where students or coaches can get into, and if they want to play with each other, they can get on chat with them and interact with them on voice comms. So yes, so I think to join the chat, you just go find the channel. I believe they're listed kind of below. You can see in the League of Legends at the very bottom. You can click on the speaker symbol and it should open you up into that chat there. All right, so now we're going to get into kind of setting up your own Discord server. This is something, this could be a really good way to go about communicating with your team. So you could have kind of your own separate Discord server for your own team. This could be a good way to kind of keep track of kind of your 4 different separate teams all in kind of one area. So talking about the Discord server before you set it up, it is optional. You don't have to use Discord. There are other ways you can communicate. I would recommend going and discussing potentially with your administration ahead of time. This could potentially be something that's blocked on your network. And at my current school, we had to actually shut down our Discord server for our esports team because some not necessarily the most school appropriate things were being discussed, and after conversations and stuff we shut it down. So maybe just talk to administration before then, before you create it, and it can be a good way to kind of foster like a team community, and there are resources that you can use with the Discord server. To get started, click on the green plus symbol and select create a server. You can change the name of your server as many times as you would like. So that plus sign, I believe, is down here. So here you could, I believe this is where you create a server. Oh, sorry, wrong tab. And then, yeah, and then it would take you through the steps there. And you can kind of create your different things. After creating your school's esports server, it's recommended that you create a different channel for each game. So if you have, as you can see in this picture, if you have Varsity League of Legends JV, if you have any casters and different things, students, you can have students assign different roles. So if you have like a League of Legends player, you can have the role for League of Legends player, and then they could only see the different channels of the League of Legends Varsity, League of Legends JV, and maybe the general League of Legends channel. And then you can give permissions in the different channels for who maybe only has viewing rights or messaging rights as well in your Discord, in the different channels there. All right. Okay, so then the last 2 things here for managing your Discord server is Justin kind of came up with a fun example. A lot of his students would use the SMH, and so they requested that he upload an emoji, so you can make custom emojis. And so he uploaded a school photo and gave it a tag, and so then you can see the emoji. I put down an example of one that I believe we have on our Discord. If you look at the bottom, that would be our president. That's Mike. I believe that's an example of what Justin was referring to with these kind of custom emojis that you can upload. And then also Discord has some different bots that you can use. I know the association uses the bottom one. I don't know a ton about bots, to be completely honest, but it looks like these are potentially hyperlinked, that you can maybe click on them for more information on the bots there. I think, yes, so that was it for what Justin kind of threw together for the Discord server. Like I said, I'm not the biggest expert on Discord. So if you have any questions, I can do my best to answer them, or I can try to get back to you, or maybe if James and Jesse, if you two know the answer, you two could jump in. Well, does anyone have Discord questions?
If you're kind of all of a sudden, I know in 15 minutes this has been a lot, because Discord is a lot. It can be a huge thing. But
yes.
One of the things, the way that I've kind of introduced myself to Discord isn't by necessarily jumping right in and forming my own server. That's the nice thing about this, is it is an open discussion platform where you can
Yeah.
build in video chat, you can build in text chat, and channels specific to certain things for your team. So if you wanted to create a social channel for your kids to communicate back and forth, you can do that. If you wanted them to have a spot where they could meet up on the weekends and figure out, hey, if I'm playing this game, who wants to play with me? You can do that as well too. The one thing though that you really want to do with a Discord server is you don't want to necessarily jump in and just and try to do everything all at once. It is a very powerful tool, but if you're not comfortable with doing that right away, or let's say you can't get the okay from your administration, because I would definitely ask to let your administration know about this before jumping in. You guys can still use there's a Wisconsin High School Esports Association Discord server. You can jump straight into that and use that with your team, and it's not going to fall on you guys to have to manage it or worry about it. It's more of a system of, hey, this is something I'm going to get comfortable with first, and then if I care to, down the road, we're going to form one. For example, we used the Wisconsin High School one last year, and this year we just set up an RUSD one for our schools and for our students.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. My first year at McFarland, coaching last year, the students set up the Discord. The students were the Discord people, and I was just like, sure, go for it. It was working, and I was there. I was on the Discord with them, but I mean, they were doing all the work. They were doing all the roles and the different channels and all that. I would say talk to your students, because it's very likely that some of them are comfortable with Discord and could maybe do some of that setting up if you're really interested in doing that setting up on your own or for helping you there. Yeah, it's really powerful. But again, yeah, if you don't feel comfortable, it's a ton to take in. Yeah.
I don't know, Tyler, can you pull up the Discord real quick?
Yeah. So I'm on the coaches discussion channel right now. If you want me to navigate anywhere, let me know.
Yeah, on the important information, so you have the announcements. So that's going to go out, like all your students, everyone's going to see that. So I think that's the one that everyone can see. But if you scroll down, there's the official match reporting. That's going to be the channel. That one's really important.
Yep. So you go up, and then you can see, so here are a bunch of Google Form links. So if your varsity Overwatch players played, you would click on this Google Form link, and then it would take you here, and then you fill that out.
Yep. So that one definitely is an important one. And the other one to you guys is the technical support. So if you're having a hard time getting your games running on your network, post a question or something here, and people are definitely going to be able to help you out. So if you're going to be the go-between between running the esports competitions and then getting it connected, this is going to be an important tab. I use this a few times. And then coach's discussion. So the other part is the very beginning. Just pay attention to that one, because that's where we all, because once again, we're not all professionals by any means as far as coaches go. So if you're in that general manager role, or if you're just highlighting one of the sports, and you have questions, post questions in here. This is actually like a lot of really cool discussion happening.
Yeah, like here, an example today, like, is it correct that Overwatch and League of Legends is JV versus varsity? How will Smash and Rocket League work this year? Like, that was a question from today's coaches discussion. So, I mean, feel free to ask whatever, and Mike's there, 20 minutes later answering the question. So.
Nate, did you find this to be pretty user-friendly? I see that's your question.
Yeah, I've been using it since kind of started exploring this last year. And I mean, pretty straightforward as far as if you've ever used just kind of a discussion board or anything like that. It seems to be pretty straightforward.
How do you add those discussion boards?
These, like off to the left, once you join the server, these should all just pop up, I believe.
Yeah, these are ones built for the Wisconsin High School Esports Association server. Let me just show you very briefly mine here. Let me see if I can do this as well. Let me see if I can stop participant sharing.
Oh, I could have clicked on that. Sorry.
No, it's okay. And then I want to share. I know I can share mine. It's here somewhere. I think I just have too many windows popped up right now. Start share, here we go. All right. So what you see here, this is my Discord server for RUSD. And as you can see, on the left-hand side, I have a welcome screen, which has kind of the rules, general, which allows for everybody to have a piece of the conversation. Announcements would be something that I would control, where I would just, put something out for everybody so that they all know and are aware of it. Scrim finders, so that people can find scrimmages if they want to know the people on the weekends. College info, if I've got anything that's specific to college. And then there's an RUSD all, which is a chat, a voice chat for anybody to get into. General managers chat, so that the coaches have a spot. And then a captain's chat. So if two captains need to get into a room to chat about something really quickly, they can just jump in as well. And then for each high school, I set up a general channel and announcement channel, which is run by their GMs. So their GMs can have their own announcements that they're saying, like, hey, we're going to have practice today from 3 to 6, don't forget. And then voice channels for each of their games as well. And as you can see right here, because I have control over this server, I can create my own channel by clicking on the plus sign. So I can just simply click that, and I can decide whether it's a text chat or voice, and call it whatever I want. I could even make it private so that only certain people could even see it. So, all right, and now I'm going to turn this back over to Tyler.
All right. Yeah, I think I want to make sure we've covered all the Discord stuff before we move on. I guess, do we have any more Discord questions, conversation?
I don't know if we're going to get to all the Discord stuff, because it is a pretty deep tool.
Yeah, it is.
I noticed that the only game-specific ones right now are League of Legends. Is someone reorganizing this or something for the new year?
Yeah, there were Overwatch and other ones there. I don't.
It's still there. I'm scrolling through, and if you scroll down past League of Legends, there's Rocket League, Overwatch, Smash Brothers. There's other channels specific for that.
I think the reason he may not be seeing it is because he may not be the coach of the other ones. Remember, you choose which games. And so right now, the reason on his screen he's only seeing League is you probably only checked Coach League.
I know I've had Overwatch and Rocket League in the past. I don't know. Maybe I did accidentally switch something. Yeah.
That would be a show then. Can you show how to choose to be coaches of those other ones? Because I only see one right now too.
I'm gonna need some help on that. If you guys, would that be in role selection? Do you know?
Yeah, that comes from role selection. So that's something, if you go into roles, I believe you can. I think that's a bot doing that. So you can request certain roles, and there should be, if you keep scrolling up, Tyler, there should be, there's ways to self-assign.
Okay. Without a coach role, please reach out to the admin. Reach out to the admin, and we are ready to. Okay, so it looks like I'll have to reach out to someone. and then they can.
Yeah, but Nathan, if you're needing another role because you're not seeing anything, go ahead and just reach out in that roles section. You can say, hey, I need to get access to whatever. I can only see the League of Legends one, for example. Okay.
All right. Well, we can move on, and we could circle back to Discord if we still have more Discord questions, but we can keep going, I guess. All right. So kind of moving away from Discord and kind of talking about some general technology stuff. My biggest recommendation is become very good friends with IT. Bribe them, do whatever you need to become good friends with them. Because they're going to probably have to do a lot of assisting you at kind of the original setting up of everything, if you haven't done that already. If you're looking at maybe some of your computers, I looked up some of the kind of the minimum game requirements for each of these. I'm not going to go and necessarily sit here and read these. It'd be really boring. But I also hyperlinked them to kind of their websites. So if you click on the Overwatch, League of Legends, or Rocket League hyperlink, that'll kind of take you to maybe a more specific one or a more specific site, sorry. And then for Smash Ultimate, you obviously need a Nintendo Switch, would be one of the things. You could have the students bring in their own. You just need one. And then you could have your first player play on it, then you can have the second player play on it, and then the third player. So you could get away with just one Nintendo Switch, and if you're really pressed, you could have the students bring in their own. The things listed up here, I do want to say, are the minimum requirements to run these games. Each of those, if you click on the hyperlinks, will also have recommended requirements. That'll be a little bit more for each of those. And then a thing that I ran into this year is make sure that your computers have the necessary graphics cards. Specifically for Overwatch and Rocket League, you might not have an issue with graphics cards for League of Legends, but with Overwatch and Rocket League, you may need to upgrade that graphics card. Yeah. All right, and then also kind of unblocking those games, making sure that those games are playable, making sure Discord is unblocked, and then potentially other sites. So for League of Legends specifically, there's a lot of scouting in which you look up kind of the opponents, what their role is, what their champions that they tend to favor for the ban system. This can also be applied to Overwatch as well. So potentially unblocking those sites that you would be using for scouting as well can be helpful. There.
I'm going to throw a
sorry.
recommendation real quick.
Yeah.
So with the blocking and unblocking of stuff, initially what I had my IT people do is to create like an IP workaround that kids could log into after school. And this was really important because I didn't want them during the school day kind of giving the esports team a bad name by jumping on and playing during the day during study hall or doing the scouting. You know, like it was very important for them to understand that we're already kind of initially under an uphill battle, and I really wanted them to focus on the academics. So all of these things can be put through a different filter, and if you need help doing that, I can kind of have my old IT person over and Ripon kind of give me a heads up on how to do that or get the message out. But I thought that was really important because I didn't want kids on that stuff during the day. But once again, once they know the username and password, they can get on it. But then I can monitor that and be like, hey, you guys are logging in on, like, you're doing the workaround during the day. I can monitor this, and there's going to be a penalty of some kind.
Yeah, I did a similar thing at McFarland actually, where I had kind of a fake account for the esports team, and I ended up giving the kids the password to it. So yeah, very similar to what you were doing. I had it on like the teacher privileges or the teacher filter, so they couldn't use their own account to play. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Yeah, so then kind of moving on away from the technology stuff, before you guys can kind of be a part of the regular season, you have to do a scrimmage. So we have kind of your first match checklist, I guess. And so one, make sure the games are installed on the PC, or if you're just doing Smash, make sure you have a Nintendo Switch. Fill out the registration. That information is going to be, I'm assuming, getting emailed out in September in the next few weeks would be my guess. For the registration, you're going to have to provide either the athletic director or the some sort of admin's contact information in case we can't get a hold of you during your match. Then we have another point of contact there. The roster sheet, you have to fill out the students' information, their in-game name, and some of your contact information, so we can so players can contact players or coaches can contact coaches on the day of the game. Yeah, would it be helpful to show a roster sheet right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't have access anymore because it was on my McFarland email. So one of you would have to share it if you feel like it's appropriate.
I don't have one, but if
Okay.
what we can get, I've got one that I can pull from Case High School, and actually it's a kind of I'll put it into the share drive. Actually, I'll do that
Perfect.
right now.
There we go. That works out. But basically, it's just kind of just having your roster displayed with their contact information, their in-game names, and then to get into the game, the coach. The roster sheet is something that only the coach should be looking at because it does have student contact information. So you should not be displaying these roster sheets to your players. But you then would look at their roster sheet, give their captain's IGN to your captain. They reach out, contact each other, add each other into a lobby, and then get into the game from there. Next step on the new advisor checklist, join the Discord channel. And then again, like I mentioned earlier, you're required to scrimmage a team before the season starts. So this should be about 2 weeks before the first week of matches. So that should be occurring probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I think right near the end of September was when we said the week 1 was. So in the next week or 2, you should be reaching out to on the Discord to potentially other schools for setting up some sort of scrimmage. New schools who don't scrimmage will not be included on the schedule, so this is something that's very mandatory. We've run into issues where schools talk about joining and then don't join, and it gives the scheduling committee a huge headache. So we're just making that mandatory. And then you have to post the results in Discord to know that we did actually that your school did the scrimmage. And then kind of the last thing that I want to talk about is streaming. Streaming is optional, but it can be a great way to connect with parents, the community, and other students. I personally have never done any streaming. At my previous school, I was the only advisor, and streaming just would have been way too much on my plate. But I know there are a handful of other schools that do stream, and it could be a really cool way to kind of get other students involved. I know at my previous school, esports was very popular even among the students that weren't on the esports team, and they were constantly asking me about it, constantly asking me how the team's doing, getting updates. And so streaming could be a great way to also do that. I can potentially post maybe a link to an article or a link to some sort of more information on setting up some sort of streaming. If you're interested in that, I can paste that onto this slide and hyperlink it there.
I did get just so everybody knows where it's at, in case you want to see it, because one of my general managers did a really nice job on this. But if you go into the shared drive, into the session 3 folder, you will find a file that says copy of sample case high school esports roster 2019-2020. In there, he's got not just the contact info, but also games of interest listed. And you can use this as a template for your other kids. He keeps track of attendance through here. He also has, if you dig through the other tabs, he's got a tab for League of Legends, for Overwatch, where he can list all of his results, and he can list all of his team rosters as well, too. Dan did a really nice job on this. Plus, he has got the contact info of, in every tab, he's got the contact info for him and also for the school athletic director. So if there's ever any problems, this is something that we want to be serious about. We need to make sure that we're handling these things as they happen. We don't let toxicity just kind of sit there. We have to make sure that we really nip it when it happens. And if there's a problem, you either talk to the coach, general manager, or you usually things can be handled in an afternoon at the moment that it happens.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, and I think, so that was pretty much it for me. One of the things that I did think about potentially adding, maybe a good time to have a conversation about maybe fundraising ideas or what we've done in the past. A lot of teams do T-shirts and jerseys. Mouse pads can be a good fundraising opportunity as long as your school is maybe not latex free. I ran into that issue in the middle of a mouse pad fundraiser and had to shut it down, unfortunately. Those are ones that I guess I've done in the past, requiring maybe a student fee to kind of cover that, maybe any sort of equipment cost. I've had community donations has been another way that I've kind of fundraised for tech equipment that has been needed at my schools. So yeah, I guess, I don't know, James or Jesse, have you guys had any other fundraisers that have been maybe successful?
I thankfully have not had to go down the fundraising route yet because of the way we're funding our program through our community fund. So nope, I have not had to yet.
Cool.
And yeah, the computers and stuff I had were already computers that we were using for Project Lead the Way. So I didn't have to do that. I personally just gathered and collected like old mice and mouse pads from when our computer lab shut down. I knew kids at some point would come. It was actually before we even created our esports team. I just kind of collected stuff. And I kind of formed that relationship you had mentioned earlier, Tyler, with the IT group, and they're very well connected. So if people are recycling things or repurposing things, they were able to find some stuff from like the bigger school districts like Oshkosh and Fond du Lac over by us being in Ripon. But no, I didn't have to do any fundraising. One thing that the kids did like to do, and we actually kind of created a nice little pot, was they hosted events. So they would do like some Smash Brother tournaments at Ripon, and they opened it up not just to other schools. It was like a weekend to get the community involved. So like they let middle schoolers come and play and elementary kids, and they were just like trying to really build the community support. And they had parents come in, and so we had an info booth, and it was pretty cool. So that was one way. It was kind of a two birds, one stone scenario where we could provide a little bit of advertising and then make a little money.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and I guess that is pretty much it for all that I had. I'm pretty sure this is the last session, so this is great time for any, I guess, last second conversations while you have all of us here.
You had mentioned that you don't have a lot of specific experience with streaming. I don't know if anybody on the call does. I had just curious about some of the mechanics of it for things like the different games and how streaming works.
So the easy part for us, another thing which was great with partnering with Not Your Parents' Basement, was that we were able to use their streaming setup that they already had. In fact, we didn't have our own channel in the spring season last year. We used theirs. But we streamed over Twitch. And again, this is a conversation where, because you're putting things public, you're streaming live content, you're going to have a very clear meeting with your school administrators about what you're doing. And IT is also going to have to be on board too, because you are going to have to do some kind of unblocking to get it done. Now, the software, you can run a stream off of any PC that you have. Basically, you don't even have to have a super high-end station necessarily to do it if you're not playing the game on it at the same time.
Yeah, I was looking it up earlier. It recommended 8 RAM and basically the same processor that any of the other games would recommend.
Right. If you're trying to piggyback on another computer while streaming at the same time, that's going to get a little cumbersome. But again, if you're thinking about how we're trying to build this ecosystem here, when you have the kids involved with it, they're going to be the ones who maybe are going to get involved with doing the streaming and the stream setups. It doesn't have to be fancy to start. It can be very simple, of where they're not even doing webcams on their faces. They could just be calling the action as they see it in the matches. They would get a role as if you're playing, for example, Overwatch, you can actually get a spectator role, which lets you move throughout the entire game without having to use a character's position. With another
Rocket League and League of Legends.
With Smash Brothers, you're probably not going to be broadcasting that one. So really, Overwatch is where you're going to be looking at doing it. But there's free software like OBS, which it's open source. It's free to download. I know Twitch also is developing their own in-house version of OBS that they have out in beta right now. It's invite only, but it's meant to simplify the streaming experience. So basically, you pick the game that you want to stream, you set up your channel how you want to set it up, and then you broadcast. That's at the very basics. As your kids get more interested, you might have kids already who are interested in doing this. And if you say, hey, can we set this up so it looks really cool and we're doing some neat things, the kids may be interested in taking that upon themselves to do it. You don't have to put yourself on doing the whole work, but it's important to understand exactly, again, what it is you're going to be sharing to the world.
All right, let me then, tell me if I'm getting too far into the weeds with some questions here, but
Sure.
Specifically like Overwatch. So I understand that you can do a observer role, which is just kind of a all-over observer role, and then they have full view of the entire both teams, and they kind of omnipresent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would assume that would only be allowed for a streamer. Like, you wouldn't let a team have an observer doing that, because then you can see.
A lot of times they put it on a delay. I know League of Legends, they put that observer on a delay. Like, are you talking about like for like a competitive advantage sort of thing?
Yeah, that was going to be kind of my next question, because I also understand with Overwatch you can do a team assigned observer. Is that allowed to be done as like a non-player coach to be able to do that?
I don't know a ton about Overwatch, to be completely honest. I know League of Legends it's on a delay, so that way you can't use that as kind of a competitive advantage. I would imagine Overwatch would be similar. I know with coaching, you're encouraged to give guidance during gameplay. So I would imagine that if you could see if you can only see your team live during the game, like live, that would be fine.
With everything that's going on as fast as it is, if I'm remembering correctly, when you're put in as an observer, You can see everything around. I don't know if you can switch between the different characters on the other team. However, if everything's going to be happening so quickly, there's going to be really no opportunity to give any, I guess, meaningful feedback on the gameplay as it's happening.
Were you, and I think I might have missed this part. I know for League, if you're a spectator, there's a 3 to 5 minute delay as a spectator. So that, and I might have missed that part if you mentioned that. So then, like you were saying, James, you're not going to be able to give that. You're not going to tell them where the wards are placed or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that exist on Overwatch, or don't you know?
Let me look.
I'm unaware. Yeah, sorry.
I'll look really quickly. I'll shoot the message out.
And then a question I was thinking about for streaming Smash, I know that you'd have to have like a video capture card to be able to get an HDMI into the computer to stream that. Any thoughts, and maybe none of you have done this, but any thoughts as far as what works better to actually grab the local switch that's playing the game, or can you also do like an observer on a separate switch watching the match?
Oh, sorry. Am I still streaming my am I still sharing my screen?
Yes.
Right.
So
Okay. So I was actually, before we got into this, I was just like looking up articles for streaming. So the ultimate guide to Twitch streaming, the very bottom, it actually brings up streaming from consoles. It talks about if you want to stream from your Nintendo Switch or any other console, you'll need a capture card that records your console. One of the most popular capture card options, blah, 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 gives you that. So it gets into that a little bit in this article, and I can link this onto that. But that can maybe get you in the right direction there. Yeah, I don't know anything beyond that, though, with streaming for Smash, I guess.
So, and I don't know, you could kind of cheat a little, I suppose. So a lot of the CISA 10 schools, if they're participating through distance learning, they have access to what we call Ensemble. And so there's actually a streaming, like a live stream that you could set up through Ensemble. And you could set up like an iPad of like the room and then have it live streaming, or like your phone and live stream. So instead of like purchasing a capture card and going all legitimate, if you wanted to get your players like, zoom out and then have the screen and everything shown, I mean, that would be a cheap way to live stream. But once again, and here's where I don't know an answer to, and someone might be able to chime in. I don't know if you can do that as far as like copyright stuff, because you're not going through the Switch itself. But
sorry, I did just realize too, Nathan, this goes back to your question about competitive advantage streaming. As far as your ability to stream, you can also control a delay. So you can set a delay to 3 to 5 minutes on the stream on your own. Does that make sense? I'm catching a lot of background noise. Tyler, I'm going to mute you.
Is it me? Oh.
Yes. Sorry, I'm catching a lot of, yeah. So Nathan, did you catch that? You can set a delay on your stream as well too.
Okay, is that recommended?
Yeah, it's always good to have a slight delay on your stream anyway. It's going to help with processing as well too if you put a slight delay on it.
I thought I have a couple of these. I don't know if you can see it. These are just like USB HDMI capture cards. $75 I picked up on Amazon for something else, but my thought is to try Switch streaming by capturing this, and either just putting a splitter on the Switch that my kids are going to be competing on, or watching it from another Switch. So I got to see how both of those options work.
That is an easy option. That's a good one to use. All right. Any other questions?
I think last week you had mentioned that the invite was about ready to go out for officially joining the league, but I haven't seen anything yet about that.
Yeah, I don't know why it hasn't gone out, but everything is supposed to be done with it. That should be going out. I know I've got to shoot a message to the board right now, or ironically over Discord. And hey, last week I thought we were good for this. Are we good with the registration?
When is like the official like game? You know that yet?
I'm sorry, it really broke up.
So when is the official day when we begin scrimmage?
Scrims, I believe, can start as the week of the 16th, I think. Tyler, are you like opening a window?
No, am I really being?
It sounds like you're in a car and you're driving, and it sounds like air is coming in.
I am sorry. I'm not doing anything.
Oh, okay.
Nope. I don't know.
And when we create our rosters, I'm assuming we need to put up the rosters for the fall games first. Like we will still have time to develop our rosters for the spring games later.
Yeah, spring sign up wouldn't be until that'll be a whole separate sign up, yeah.
Okay.
In like January or February, whenever that would start. Yeah.
And then I'm assuming that we will, for Rocket League and Overwatch, you need to buy a gaming license for every single computer that you're using.
No. So you only need one license to install the game on the computer. So like let's say I own Overwatch. So I could go to every single computer in my computer lab, use my Overwatch account, and install it on every single game. Now, I can't go play it 30 times because I can only sign into one computer. But if you have the account, you could sign in, install it, sign out, go to the next one, install it, go to the next one. And then if the students have their own account, then the students can just use their own account to play the game. So really, you would only need to potentially purchase accounts, one account for each Overwatch and Rocket League just to install the game, or you could even use your personal one if you own the game, or you could use a student's account if you're really in a bind for funding. You can just use the student's personal account to install all the games. But then going forward, if you have students that maybe don't have an account, but you still want to give them an opportunity to play, then you may need to buy like 1 or 2 or 3 or however many you might need school accounts. And I've let multiple students play on the same school account, and I've done that. So you do not need to buy an individual account for each computer.
I'm going to ask that I'm putting it on the board thing for tonight to clarify install and licenses and things of that nature for us.
Yeah, and Tyler, what you just said about having multiple students use a school-owned account, I guess I don't know how that would work, especially for something like.
It was for Rocket League. It was for Rocket League and Overwatch. It's less doable in League of Legends because then you're kind of maybe giving over champions and stuff. But I did it for Rocket League, and it was very new players that had never really played before.
We used for before in the spring last year was when Blizzard changed their policy around buying the game, and the account was tied to the game. So what we were having students do was use in-house accounts at Not Your Parents' Basement. So it would be like a school account. With Overwatch and Rocket League, there's not as much problem with doing that. So long as on the roster, on your team's roster, you indicate which account that they're using, and you want to have them use that account all season. Don't go changing it about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but I know part of the discussion, like I was at the meeting this summer, we were talking about the ability to be able to scout students out by their account. And if you have multiple people using the same account, that's really going to throw a wrench in the mix.
Yeah. So
that's why I was saying that when you choose whoever's going to use which account, is that if they stay with that. So you indicate that on your roster sheet.
Yep.
If you're using a school account.
Yeah, for like my specific example, that would have been pretty much exclusively used by one student for practicing. And then if another student maybe had to sub in, like an emergency sub, but didn't own an account and maybe just had like his account on Xbox or PS4 or whatever for Rocket League, I would let him use that account just for that emergency substitution. So mine was a little bit more like very, I guess, only game day account. So scouting that would have been helpful.
And students can use their own accounts too for Overwatch and Rocket League if they already have an account. You don't have to.
I would say,
you don't have to have a
90% of the students, I guess, are probably using personal accounts. 95%, yeah.
Right.
Do these like personal accounts, like that's only if they have the PC version of the game? Like, could they use let's say they play console primarily?
I don't think so. I don't think, because I ran into that problem when I decided, I'm going to put Rocket League on or Overwatch on my from my Xbox to my PC, and I thought I could log in with my Xbox login, and I couldn't. They're very separate, two separate gardens. It's a weird thing.
Yep.
It is 7:00. Are there any other questions for tonight? I think we're down to Ray and Nathan. We've attritioned down tonight.
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it all out. Trying to get everything prepared. I think I have the support with my school in creating this team, but like the biggest thing that we lack is just funding and then just like organizing this for the first time.
Ray, I'm just down the street from you. I mean, Racine and South Milwaukee area are not far from each other. I am more than happy to come up and meet with you and your kids personally.
Okay.
And kind of help you maybe plan some things out. We can set some time where I'll come up in the afternoon and we can kind of plan some things out.
All right.
Yeah.
I would really appreciate that.
And I would just add on that, like, if your computers can handle the games, you can do it on very little funding. It's if your computers that you start out with don't need any sort of upgrades, then really all you need to do is just install the games on the computers. The students likely have their own accounts, and you're basically up and running. The rest of the stuff can kind of get almost pushed to later. I know for me, when I was starting this up last year at McFarland, I was super overwhelmed with everything that I felt like I needed to do before week 1 of the regular season. And it was just like, all right, we're just going to go to the basics. We're going to get the games installed and we're going to show up for week 1. And from there it was okay. So, yeah, I think you got this. So,
all right.
Well, and Ray, I just shot you a private message over chat. My email address is in there, but that goes to anybody. If you need any help, just reply to the email that I sent or to the invites that I sent, and either one of those will get me, and I can, like I said, Ray, you're very close by. And Nathan, you're a little bit further away, so you don't get the personal touch. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I suppose the thing that's just left for me, the biggest questions is it just kind of feels like we're getting close here to the launch of the season. And so waiting on some of that info, signing up, that kind of thing. It seems like some of the stuff that was talked about in the summer is still kind of up in the air. I was just looking at the bylaws, and some of it still remains to be finalized, it looks like. Also just kind of like first time getting connected. Some of the stuff that's online, still to the new person, I think some of it's still, for me, like, I'm not sure how to fill in some of the gaps, like how do we literally set up and get connected with multiple schools on a Super Smash Brothers competition, or Overwatch or whatever it is. So I'm not sure what can be done for trying to get some of those questions answered before the season starts, but that's probably where I'm at.
Well,
I think with that, you just gotta. I think for connecting with other people, for me, I put a lot of trust in the students. I don't personally know the game very well, but they showed me how do you set up a lobby, how do you invite people, how do you add people, how do you do all that stuff. The students can probably handle a lot of that, and you're just kind of the middleman almost.
and again, this conversation will be checked over by Mike. Some of the board watches over the conversation here. So as the question, I'll tell them to make sure that, hey, in the last couple of minutes, do jump in and listen to the last part just so that you can hear some of the questions that are being asked. And that way we can get you some of those answers, okay?
Yeah, I guess if I could add any questions if he's hearing is like, just figuring out like tryouts. Like right now, I find myself, I know the interest is there, but I'm just trying to essentially try to set up a team with my school, and then trying to figure out how I'm going to do tryouts, trying to figure out how I'm going to set up like who plays what right now. I think the easiest one we could do, just for the sake of funds, is probably Smash. To just get started, but I know my IT department is kind of we're lacking because we only have 2 ladies to work for 3-4 schools, and so like each time I send them an email, I get like a week in response. But
well, again, Ray, I can come up and we can make it so that we've got a very clear conversation, and I can help you write out exactly how that email needs to go to make sure we're all on the same page. And it's in one email and not several back and forths.
Yeah, for sure. I've been definitely using like your one pagers, and I like the whole one pager you send with like a breakdown.
I mean, I know the conversation, how it's going to go with IT and what they're going to ask for. I don't know if you've ever had that conversation. You're just going to say, hey, I want to make sure this works. You're going to say, okay, what do you want? What does that look like to you? So I can help lay out that email and that conversation.
Yeah, I'm just going to email you my email right now saying this is my email.
Cool. All right. We're a little over time tonight. I know, but Nathan, I know you're always good about asking questions on the Discord. And Ray, if you don't have access to that, I'll make sure you get an email that has the link to the Discord as well, too.
I just got access.
Perfect.
By the way, I did figure out how to assign my own roles for the games in Discord. So.
Cool. Perfect. All right, everybody. If there are no further questions, everybody have a good night.
You too. Thanks.